It's Tuesday. Hi, everyone. Got old Blue on again today. A quick shout out to someone who I keep forgetting to shout out. And I do, I know why, but it's an important shout out. I want to shout out to Dr. Deadwax, Mark. Mark's doing his countdown, or not countdown, but he's going through his box with the help of numbers from folks. I haven't submitted any numbers, but I want to thank Mark for being one of the first people to buy my records here in the BC. When I put out Dereck 3, he was one of the first people to order. Might have been the first person. And then when Dereck 2 came out, Mark was again among the first to order. Thank you for your support, Mark. I don't watch all of your videos. I love you as a person. Vibe is where it's at. And you have... it seems like your sense of humor is always going, and after a while it's like, okay, I was like, I turned the channel, but I love you, and I wanted to shout you out. And I hope that it's cool that I gave you a real, honest shout out. You know what I'm saying? It's real, man. Much respect to you. Listening to Catherine Escud Lockwood Trio. And I just love this album. Philip Catherine on guitar, Christian Escud on guitar, and DJ Lockwood on violin. Just beautiful music. Let's listen a little bit. I also want to just kind of make a general shout out that I do see that folks that make videos still watch my videos who I don't watch too much. It ain't nothing personal. It's just, again, it's my neurosis that makes me feel like I need to say anything. So I probably don't, so I just stopped. One thing I want to talk about, because I didn't pull any more records to show, although believe me, I can keep going on the tip that we're on. But to me, it's all good music. I mean, again, I can go from this to Meshuggah in a heartbeat, to some hip-hop if I want to, or just some whatever, But Cosmic Writer Henry was asking me in a personal message about how do I discover all this music, especially all these artists where the music is really good but no one knows about them. Well, I guess I have to continue telling my story, because as a boy I was captivated by music right away. I mean, hit hard by music. And even though I went through the usual milestones of childhood, there was quite a bit of time where I would get fed up with people, mainly people's cruelty, other children's cruelty and adults' cruelty. And so I would retreat and go home and listen to records. Or when I found people of a like mind, I go and listen to records with them. So, as a result of being so hooked into music, I just started to, in records, I was fascinated with records, and we were poor, so whenever I got a record, not only did I play it to death, but I looked at it until there was nothing to look at. I dissected it. And so, early on in listening to music, I caught on to who wrote the songs, who produced it, what are these names, who are these people associated with these records. I think it really, really gelled in high school. But even before that, I've mentioned this before, something I did probably starting when I was maybe 10 through the age of 12 is one of my favorite things to do to get away from cruel fucking people, because kids were cruel, it, is I would sit and listen to the radio and I'd keep a pad, like a notebook, like a spiral notebook, and I would just sit and make a list of every song. I would endeavor to know every song that I heard, and I did. I would know who it was, what was the name of the song, who was the artist. Even though I didn't have the money to buy the records, my favorite thing to do as a kid, and my sister Stephanie, she's seen this, I'd spend hours in the record store till they kicked me out, looking at every single record, just looking at every bit of information on the record, especially the covers, and then who played. And so this is how I discovered, do they call it train spotting? But like I said, and I'd really have to couple it with my social commentary, the cruelty. I mean, adolescence was horrid. I mean, I don't know why it was so bad for me, but my first encounters with sex that I remember were just terrible, and people were just awful, And I remember the different ways that people would try to entice you to, well, let me teach you, let me show you, and then the other situations where it would just be this really just raunchy shit, Kids meeting up in abandoned houses or in somebody's garage, and it just seems so sordid to me. And it's like, what the fuck is this, And so I would retreat and go back to the music. I don't regret it, because that behavior continues into adulthood, and I really think that we have a lot of behavior that is accepted that is just reprehensible to me, and it starts in childhood. So, I also noticed that once I started exploring albums, and when they started playing more underground music on the radio in the Midwest, before I met my high school friends from Europe, I noticed that the most intriguing music was being made by people that weren't in the charts. I really took notice of that. The things that I would hear, that what was that? And I'd finally find out it was somebody like Magma, or it was Zephyr. Tommy Bolin Zephyr one time had a song that really blew my mind. It was not the mainstream people that were getting all the attention. So I caught on to the fact that, mainstream success does not mean you're good or that you deserve it. And so I started reading, I was reading anyway. When Rolling Stone came out, I remember the first Rolling Stone magazine. And it caught on real fast how Rolling Stone was worthless to really find out anything about music, really. So because of the Beatles, in high school I remember spying New Musical Express and Sound magazines at a kiosk downtown one time. And that was it. Once I discovered those, I'd save my pennies or whatever I had to do to get a weekly, or however often they came out. I have a bunch of them still in my garage, but they're probably dust. They probably are. It's probably just, but I saved a bunch of those because they were like, they were my guides. I learned a lot, and I learned how to read between what critics say. I discovered that a lot of times critics talk like they know what they're talking about, but they don't. They just know what they like. And there have been many critics, and I won't say any names because I can't think of any, who I think have really steered the world wrong because they didn't know shit about music and had everybody listen to crap, as opposed to, because they couldn't understand something with quality, they pointed everybody over to the monkey booth. I'm just going to keep it anonymous, Some of you guys can probably imagine some of the artists I'm thinking of that are huge in the world, that are they're just next to worthless when it comes to being musical, like this, This is beautiful. I'll say one thing, and this is to Daddy Penix. Daddy Penix, Phil Collins was so much of a better drummer than John Bonham. You other people that are rock and roll freaks that are spitting your coffee out, I'm not talking about the magic of the beloved John Bonham. I'm talking about the mechanics of drumming. There were a lot of things that Phil Collins could do in his heyday that were amazing that John Bonham could never do. I'm talking about, you know, the mechanics of drumming, not about the romance of who Led Zeppelin are. I had something else on my mind to talk about this morning, and because I still refuse to write things down, it escapes me. So you may see me again today. You may not. It reminds me that I need to get a hold of the record pressing company to see how my order is coming. Have a good day, everyone.